Welcome to One More Saturday Night. My name is Jeff Hellman. It is my great pleasure and privilege to bring this show back to YouTube. And for our very first show, our very first show, I'm pleased to have Rupert Coles with us. You know, some of the greatest fans of live music are the people that photograph the shows and post the shots, you know, that help us remember or wish we were there, depending on where you were at the time. And they don't get a lot of attention sometimes. You know, the pictures do, but you know, the person behind the camera. And it occurred to me today, thinking about what we were going to be doing, Rupert, that
hmm
uh, in a sense, photographers are a lot like musicians because it's all about timing and
hmm
doing the right thing at the right moment.
Pretty much. That and pure dumb luck.
Well, I guess if you push the button enough times, you know, you're probably going to hit something. But
Yeah.
you know, it seems to me that you come up with more than what you would expect someone to come up with randomly in the way of.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I never knew I wanted to be a photographer just till a few years ago. I grew up drawing and painting, um, and a lot of the stuff that I was drawing was, my favorite rock stars, be it Led Zeppelin or The Who or whoever, and it was a lot based on photographs. So, I knew what I wanted. I know what kind of composition I'm looking for, hopefully. Um, so when I was, 10, 12 years old, I was going through different, finding my favorite photos. I started noticing the same photographers over and over again. So, when I was 12 years old, I knew the difference between Neil Preston and Bob Gruen. Um, and later on I discovered Jay Blakesberg and Bob Minkin, and then going backwards I found Jim Marshall and people like that. And now I get to share the rail with some of those people, which is really strange. I was Hardly Strictly Bluegrass festival. I was there in the pit with Jay Blakesberg during Emmylou Harris, which was amazing in and of itself. um, so I like you were saying about helping people remember, maybe helping people feel they were there. That's kind of what I try to do. Especially for people that aren't there, I kind of try to get them the feeling that they were there. Especially like a big festival scene. I always take pictures of kids and dogs and stuff like that. And when Roger McNamee first asked if I wanted to take photos for Moon Owls, he said, you don't have to take pictures of just the band. You could take pictures of kids and dogs. So, I try to get the whole scene, hopefully. But ask me some questions.
Well, you know, it must have been felt good to have someone like Roger, you know, come to you and say, "Hey, you want to shoot our band?"
Well, I did, yeah. I mean, I started going to see Moon Alice in 2011, which was funny because I was out of work at the time, and I was working as a security guard. I ended up watching the VIP viewing area at the Harmony Festival when Moon Alice were playing with David Nelson Band and Railroad Earth. And I dragged the wife to some Moon Alice shows. I said, these guys, we already knew who they were because we had followed Nelson Band for a while. And I said, well, these guys are playing a lot of free shows, and so we started going to shows, and I started photographing just as a hobby, and it was at least 2 years doing that before I was approached to actually photograph for the band. So it felt pretty good. And I, first time I got paid, I told my wife Cherie, I said, I guess I'm a photographer now. you know. I guess I can call myself a photographer. It didn't feel like it at the time, but it was weird to get compliments on my photography, from family and friends. But they kind of feel compelled to be nice to you. But the weird thing now is, I get compliments from other photographers who, some of whom have been my inspiration. Like Bob Minkin and Jay Blakesberg and people like that. So it's weird.
Well, it's clearly deserved, and
Yeah.
It just shows that, you know, if you're dedicated to what you do and do it as well as you can, you know, good things happen.
Yeah.
We've been talking about, you know, the process of taking the pictures. Would you like to show us some of your favorites?
Absolutely. There we go. Okay. Obviously, this is Big Steve Parrish. I always try to get shots of Big Steve because he's always entertaining. You know, obviously he brings his props and whatnot. And it kind of tells a story. You know, I don't want to get pictures of just the band all the time. And you know, Big Steve is pretty engaging. In fact, I think it was at the Bottle Rock Napa. He wanted someone else to take his photo, and they were ignoring him. So he declared that I'm his official photographer from now on. So. Let's see what I got.
Well, there's certainly, I got to say, you captured the essence of Steve. I mean, that pretty much had everything about what he's about right now when he comes out and does the intros.
Yeah, here's one of Roger. And you know, I always like to catch the action. Somebody asked me, you know, don't I always get the same shots every night? And I said, Pete Townshend's not on the marquee anywhere, you know, but there's enough action between the band members, and sometimes the action, it's not really movement. Sometimes it's just capturing a little moment, you know. Just that little bit of emotion especially when the musicians are obviously kind of lost in it, you know, kind of really deep in the jam. And there's one of Roger that's from Bottle Rock Napa from last year, I think it is.
Well, that's just the picture of pure bliss. Of,
yeah.
Just loving what you're doing. Where you're
yeah. I call it
what's happening.
I call it base space. Let's see. There's Roger with Pete. I don't remember which show this is from. This might be Sweetwater Music Hall. Or no, wait. No, I think it might be from the Ashkenaz. But I like to get some interaction between the different band members, you know, and sometimes you'll get just like a little glance or a little look from one band member to another. You know, just get that little bit of interaction. There's one of Barry Sless. This is from Truckee, from I think it's from last year. But you know, it's I like to capture a little bit of that emotion. You know, I was thinking about it a while back. There's certain indigenous tribes around the world that are afraid that if you take your photo, then you're stealing their soul. But it's really kind of what I'm looking for. You know, you want to capture some of the essence of your subject, and that's what I try to do, ideally.
You know, these last two photos, I mean, what I get from them is just the extreme focus.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Barry's just clearly like locked in, and
oh, he's in the zone. Yeah.
and of course, it's always wonderful when he gets
Uh-huh. Let's see. Oh, there he is. that's it's always nice when you can catch that little, you know, especially when a musician's being really serious, and then they get to that point where, you know, their fellow musicians are pushing them to go further, you know, and they kind of get that little grin. I think this is from Oregon Country Fair from this year, which was a great show. Let's see what I've got next here. Oh, yeah, this is also from Oregon.
I love this shot, man.
Thanks.
The microphones and the drumsticks, the way they're all. Yeah.
And this is one of those shots where the color was too much. The color was actually distracting from the shot, so I just took all the color out, and you know, it is what it is. I mean, this is kind of an action shot, but it is and it isn't at the same time. You know, because he's just John Molo is just having that little pause before he just unleashes it. You know,
right.
Which is always nice to capture. Kind of static energy. Oh, here's Jay Lane. This is from Hardly Strictly Bluegrass with the Doobie Decibel system from this year. Moon Alice did not play this year at Hardly Strictly. It was the electric doobies, or as my friend Sue Wyan calls them, the vapes. Not to be confused with the Doobie Brothers. Let's see. Oh, here's John Molo again. And this I like is.
You're talking about Doobie just for a second. The Doobie.
Uh-huh.
And it's really interesting how that started out really just as a duo with Roger and Jason,
Oh, Jason, yeah.
and then everybody's getting involved.
Yeah, it's kind of evolved. They've got Jay Lane now. Pete Sears is playing bass with them. They've got Lebo from ALO. Um, it's a whole different experience. But it's
This is a wonderful shot too. I mean, two great shots of Nolo. I would put that on my wall.
yeah, thanks. I could have done with a little more light, but those are
Oh
club
no,
shows.
it's perfect.
But
I like the orange under the symbols and
yeah, yeah. I don't mind a little bit of grain in photos because it's kind of reminiscent of film, which is I think is funny because with the new cameras, the digital cameras, you got so many millions of pixels and so many millions of color combinations, and the kind of ideal aesthetic for photos is still black and white film. Let me see what I got. Oh, here we go. Um, I got a series of shots. I always like capturing the effect that the band has on the audience, the people around them. Um, Especially as Moon Alice plays so many free shows, they'll play all these free shows in public parks. There's a lot of people that come out that don't necessarily know who they are, and you kind of see that metamorphosis take place. It's always fun to watch, especially when they play in Union Square in San Francisco, because you get tourists and commuters and just you get like homeless people wandering into the scene, and they all kind of come together. This is from Pacific Grove from a couple of years ago. They played a 4th of July show down there. Let's see. Oh, it's one from Union Square. It's my friend Andy, actually. But you can see he's moved by what's going on. I always like to capture that kind of interaction. Let's see what else we got.
This is why I say the audience is the music that plays the band.
Oh yeah, yeah. The band is not the entire show. And especially these daytime shows in Union Square, it's always great to get shots for this. There was I don't think I included it in this slideshow, but I got some shots this summer. There was a show in Union Square. There was a young lady who she looked like she was on her way home from work. She had her hair up, and she had all these bags in her hands, and she's kind of bobbing her head to the music. And after a couple songs, she moves closer and closer, and then finally she's up in front of the stage, and her hair's down, her coat's off, her bags are on the floor, and she's just boogieing. And it was really wild to capture that. And then at the end of the show, her hair's back up, and she's on her way back home from work. Oh, this is from Auburn, or not Auburn. This is from Truckee, from the Truckee River Amphitheater. And those guys know how to party up there.
I guess.
They're a fun bunch. I had another shot in this series. There was a guy in a full Sasquatch costume that was dancing around in the crowd. Let's see. But I always just love to capture those little moments where people are just letting their freak flag fly, as it were. And this is from Arcata from a couple years back. Let's see. Oh, this is that moment. You can see my fellow photographer Bob Minkin there is just noticed that shot too, and he's just about to sit down and try to get pictures of these kids as well. This is from the 4th of July last year on the USS Hornet.
I remember that they played there.
Yeah, it was a very cold show.
It sure looks like it. You can just see from the spot.
Yeah, well,
They got their hoods on.
yeah, well, summer in San Francisco. This is
Yeah.
that's another Union Square shot. It's sometimes I love just capturing the band, just kind of in the background. It's like, oh, by the way, the band is there.
Right, but the kid, I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
You can't see his face, but yet you really know what he's feeling. Just
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's that sort of. You can't describe exactly how or why, but it says so much.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones there. Let's see what I've got next. Oh, that's the same kid. I think his father used to work for Sweetwater. Now I think he's at Terrapin, or vice versa. I don't remember. Let's see. Oh, and the obligatory dog photo. That's another one from Union Square. Let me see.
I was more into the music than she was.
Yeah. Or he's looking at something. I don't know what. This is from backstage at Hardly Strictly Bluegrass from last year, I believe. It was Bob Minkin wearing the Barry Sless, the Sless's Stout T-shirt from Iron Springs Brewery in Fairfax, and I don't think Barry had actually seen the shirt yet. So it was. I think Bob actually asked me to take that photo for him. It was a fun little interaction there. Let's see, Union Square, of course. It's my second home, pretty much. But I like to capture the scope of the entire scene if I can. In Union Square, there's so much going on. I like to stand back and get the wide angle out and try to capture as much as I can.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Thanks. And in fact, I think it was last year. I'm constantly looking up at the Cheesecake Factory up on top of Macy's. I'm always wondering, what do we look like to the people up there? So I finally went up there last year and took some shots. About 6 flights of elevators. This is from AT&T Park. I believe this is from last year. And then Moon Alice played on top of the visiting dugout for Grateful Dead tribute night. And I got some shots from the other angle. You can see the field in the background and the band, but you can't see all the people in the stands. So I went out onto the field and went ahead and got this shot. Let's see what else I got here.
They also have the pre-show side before they come out, right?
Oh, and Triples Alley, yeah. That's a very strange place to see a live show. This obviously is one of the big check ceremony, as I call it. There's Trixie Garcia, Sandy Socott, who was head of the Rex Foundation at the time, and Bill Walton, the world's tallest deadhead. Let's see. Oh, there's Bobby.
What a lot of people don't know is Walton got out of the 60s. Didn't Walton saw the Dead all the way back in the 60s? He was the original Deadhead.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far he goes back. I know he went to Egypt. I've seen video of him sitting on the side of the stage. I think he was conveniently injured at the time. he had a cast on his leg. I don't know if it was during basketball season or not, but yeah, he was in Egypt with the band. He got around. Let's see. This was a surreal shot to take. This is when Bobby was singing the national anthem with Tim Flannery, who's former third base coach for the Giants, and his brother, is actually an opera singer. And it was weird because I was out in front of home plate taking photos on the field with Bob Minkin and a bunch of other photographers, and we had all the sports photographers in front of us. Bobby, before he started singing, he stepped aside, and I looked at Bob. I said, "Take a step back." And sure enough, Bobby asked all the photographers to move back. we already knew the drill, so we moved back. And then before
Tim Flannery's brother?
On the left, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's I don't remember his first name, but he's an opera singer. So they did a great rendition of the Star Spangled Banner that night. Yeah, it was just very, very strange to be down there on the field with these guys. Let's see. Oh, there's Molo. This is when they're just about to play on top of the dugout from a couple years back. And I included this because I just like to show the size and scope of the venue. It's kind of a big place for them to be playing in.
Well, he's also perfectly placed in the middle of the sign in the back there with the
yeah.
You talked about composition at the very beginning.
Yeah, I didn't really plan it necessarily like that. It just kind of worked out. Like I said, sometimes it's pure dumb luck.
Well, or subconscious.
Yeah.
Of what you're saying.
Here's Mickey from this year. I got some great shots this year down on the field. Of course, it was the 50th anniversary and Grateful Dead tribute night. I think Mickey and Trixie were both down there. And let's see what we got here. Oh, this is Doobie. This is the Electric Doobies from Hardly Strictly Bluegrass from this year. And like I said, this is another one where I wanted to show the whole scope of the event. So I used the fisheye lens, the super wide angle on this. Thanks.
But this is only one. They had several stages, right? So they actually had a pretty good crowd.
Oh yeah. There's I think they're up to 5 or 6 stages now, and they've got anywhere up to about 250,000 people in the park at any one time during that festival. So it's amazing that it takes place on such a huge scale. And they've even though Warren Hellman's no longer with us, they still manage to pull it off every year, which is a feat in and of itself. Let's see what's next. Oh God, this is from the Oregon Country Fair from this year. And this little girl owned the stage, I think. I think you can see she's got kind of like a butterfly wing cape, and she was just kind of fluttering around on the side of the stage. And it took me a second to line up this shot. You can see she's kind of glaring at me out of the corner of her eye, like hurry up and get the shot. But yeah, I had to get her in this shot because it was. I mean, you can see the reaction. I think that's her dad on the right hand side. But she was just priceless. I had to get that one. And it was such a wonderful venue too, just out in the middle of the forest. I wanted to capture all that as well. And I think I've got another shot with that. Let's see. Oh no, I don't. Okay, that's Wavy Gravy. This is from the Berkeley Shakedown Festival from this year, out there behind the Berkeley Community Theater. And this is one of those shots that was pure dumb luck, because Wavy was walking through the crowd. He'd been doing an interview for the Seva Foundation, and he was walking backstage, and his assistant asked him if he wanted to stop and take a break, and so he put his chair down about 3 feet from me, and I just happened to grab some shots. This one I'm really happy with because the look on his face it's like he's kind of staring at the bubble soap, and it's like he's hesitating, like kind of figuring out whether or not he wants to put the cap back on it or not, which I thought was an interesting moment. Let me see what we've got next. Oh, okay, this is Midnight North. This Midnight North have actually been using on their Facebook page, which I'm kind of proud of. This is from their show they did last month at the Chapel in San Francisco. Yes, this is Graham Lesh's band. It's Graham Lesh, Elliot Peck, Alex Jordan, Alex Coford, and Connor on bass. And actually, I think pretty soon after we're finished here, I'm going to drive up to Auburn and go see those guys again. They're playing up there tonight with Stu Allen and Mars Hotel, and I think there's still tickets. So if you're near Auburn, come and join us. This was an amazing shot to get. This is from Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, and Emmylou Harris had been playing a set with Rodney Crowell, and the band left the stage, and she said, "Well, we're going to bring some friends up." It turned into a photographer feeding frenzy. Like every photographer in the park ended up in that one spot, so it was nice to get. I'm not sure if I got anything.
I can't remember the guitar player's name in the middle there.
Oh, in the middle. Oh God, now I'm drawing a blank myself. Steve Earle.
Yeah.
Steve Earle, yeah.
Yeah. I loved him in that show about New Orleans.
Yeah. It was Steve Earle, Dave Rawlings, and Gillian Welch that came up. Let's see what I've got. This is not music related. This is my wife and I we're part of the whole scene of the Renaissance Fair and Dickens Christmas Fair, or at least we used to be. This was actually a memorial service for Phyllis Patterson, who was the founder of the original Renaissance Fair back in the early 60s. This took place in Marin County last year. And let me see, I'm not sure if I got anything after that. Oh, no, back to Big Steve. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing there now. And
all right. Well, so for someone who's only been doing this for a few years, I mean, You know, if you didn't tell anybody that, I'm sure we'd all be thinking, well, this is a lifelong pursuit for you.
Yeah. Well, it was always a hobby. I didn't start taking it really seriously until several years ago. I had a bunch of crappy little point and shoot cameras over the year, going back from before digital, back to the days of film. Um, and especially once Moon Alice asked me if I wanted to work for them, then I started taking it a lot more seriously. I actually started getting good at it.
Well, so we're going to wrap things up here in a minute, but we'd
Uh-huh.
like to ask if you have a website.
Yeah, it's rupertcolesphotography.com, and I actually just revamped the whole thing, so it's all fancy.
All right, nice. And if there's any bands out there that are looking for someone to take shots, they can get a hold of you through your website or
Absolutely, yeah.
like. You have a Facebook page also.
Yeah, it's under Rupert Coles Photography as well,
Okay.
on Facebook. That's where I post most of my stuff.
All right. Well, I think anybody who's watched the last 20 minutes or so of the photos you shared would certainly agree that you'd be a great person to call and
Yeah.
have come take shots. And I got a couple things working. If my bands ever come together, you're on my list. I'll call you.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, Rupert Coles Photography. Rupert Coles, thank you so much for joining us today for one more Saturday night.
Thanks for having me.
We'll look forward to seeing more of your posts. If you're on Facebook, folks, find his page, like the page, and then you'll be seeing his posts. So we'll hopefully be back again next week. We don't have a guest lined up yet, but that could change anytime. I want to say also to everybody, all my friends and people who don't know me, I don't care. Please have a great but safe Thanksgiving holiday. You know, don't if you're going to drink and drive, don't drink much. And if you're going to drink, try not to drive. Bring a friend. Um, too many people. There's too many people over the holidays, and even if you don't have a problem, odds are you're going to run into someone who's going to give you a ticket or do something. It's just keep us all safe. It's basically the message. So thanks again to Rupert Coles, and we'll see you all next time.
All right.